Friends, welcome back to episode 3 with Lawrence Grobel, one of the great writers and one of the great storytellers of our time. I think you're going to enjoy the third episode quite a bit. Okay, so now 40 years on the journey. Right. When do you connect in the journey with Hefner?
Well, what happened is I get a call after the Streisand one comes out, and I get a call from the editor saying, "Are you sitting?" I said, "Yeah, okay. Sit down." Because Marlon Brando has agreed to talk, and would you like to do it? Now, Marlon Brando is like
after The Godfather.
Yeah. He was doing Apocalypse Now. So
after The Godfather.
Yeah. So and after Last Tango in Paris as well. So Brando to me represented what a man was. I was influenced a great deal by On the Waterfront, Streetcar Named Desire. Sure. You know, I mean, it was like his early films were unbelievable. But the Wild One, Viva Zapata. I mean, really, it's
The Godfather wasn't bad.
Oh, then when it does The Godfather, but so the reason I think I got the assignment was because I was still new to Playboy. I'd only done 2 or 3 people.
Yeah.
But they saw that I was willing to spend a year to get the assignment, and I didn't get paid until I finished it. So they never had their other writers. They couldn't give them a year-long assignment. But with me, they could do it, and they saw that I was persistent
and earnest and persistent.
Right, and I think I was good. I think what happened too was with the Fonz very early. When Henry Winkler, I did that. I had a certain way of doing it so that it would end with him at the Mardi Gras, king of the Mardi Gras, throwing this thing. So after you hear his life story and how he did this, now he's king of the Mardi Gras, he's throwing the balloons. They cut it out. The Playboy took it out because of space. So I called up the editor. I was arguing with him right at the start of my career. I said, "You can't do this. Don't you see?" I said, "Look, from here it goes to here, here it goes to here."
And strangely, they may have admired that.
They did.
Yes.
Thank goodness.
They didn't like it, but they may have admired it.
Because they didn't understand what I was doing. And then they saw that I saw this. I saw an interview with Playboy as a 3-act play. And that's how I structured it.
There are hundreds of life lessons in what you've already said. Hundreds of them about audacity, about all these things. Many of them not as common today as well, they weren't common in any day, but they certainly are not common today. Now, you do Marlon Brando. You do that interview.
And Brando is the one. Brando changes. Streisand changed a lot. That got me to Brando.
You got
Brando. I get a call. I'm doing Steve Martin for Playboy or something, and when he was doing The Jerk, and I get another call. We got Al Pacino. He's never done an interview.
Now, let's remember the timing here.
Yeah.
Al Pacino had just done The Godfather.
Godfather? Well,
The Godfather rocketed him in a way that is hard to believe by today's standards.
Right.
Al Pacino becomes the biggest star in the world.
And he's never done an interview.
Right.
He's never done it. So he's making this movie Cruising. He's working on it, but he just finished And Justice for All, I think it was. And so
I'm out of order.
I'm out of order.
You're out of order. This court's out of order. Right?
Great movie. So what happens is they said, Pacino said he'll do it, but he wants to see you on Thursday. This is Tuesday. I said, and I'm also seeing Steve or something. Well, he's pretty big too at the time, right? So
Al Pacino.
So
son.
I said, I can't do it on Thursday. I can't do it on Thursday. What do you mean? I said, well, because the library, the Academy Library, where I do my research, that there's no internet then, is closed on Wednesdays. So I can't even do it. Today is Tuesday. I have to leave on Thursday. And I have to actually leave on Wednesday when you think of it. So they said,
where do you...
I'm here in L.A.
And where is he?
He's in New York.
Pacino's in New York.
So that's when he tells me, he says, well, you don't understand. He said he'll only do it with the guy who did Brando. he had read the Marlon Brando interview I did and said,
No.
I'll do it if it's
the
him.
guy
That's who I became. I don't have to know my name, and it's an anonymous
guy who
form.
did
But I was the
Brando.
guy who did Brando. I was going to do a book called The Guy
And
Who
now
Did Brando.
you did Pacino.
Right. And I got to do Pacino, and everybody wanted to talk to me after Brando. Everybody, even if he said nasty things about you, like Lily Tomlin, he said some things about her or whatever. They all wanted to talk to me. Streisand, I meet her at Elliot Gould's house one day, a couple of, after I'd done this.
It didn't matter.
She, in the kitchen, she wants to talk about Marlon. We just sat in the kitchen and talked about all the people in the party are in the other place.
But when you do your interview, what year is the Pacino interview?
1980.
1980.
1 year.
Now, something odd happens in that story, in that
We become
you
friends.
become friends.
Yeah.
And then best friends.
Yeah.
For decades.
For decades, yes.
Al Pacino.
Yeah, but Al Pacino has been here, sitting here, eating our food. He grew up. My kids only grew up with him. They weren't even born.
Hold on. I'm sitting at a table Al Pacino sat at.
And played cards at. Matter of fact, that might have been his chair.
Wow, that's impressive. Okay.
Okay.
So you develop this friendship with
Yeah.
the biggest star in the world,
Right.
and it's rooted really in friendship. It's
Yes.
not. It's not. What's the term?
I'm
Star
not,
fucker.
Yeah, I'm not fawning over him, and I'm not a sycophant. I hope. I'm just, it's just that it was for some reason we both clicked. We understood each other. Mm-hmm. He was from the Bronx. I was from Brooklyn.
Right.
I go to see him the first time, and he's got a small apartment. Has Candace Bergen on the name, not his own name. She used to have it before in Manhattan. And I go to sit down in a wicker chair, and he's on a couch, and the wicker chair, my ass goes right through it. Because it's broken, and I know it wasn't me. I mean, I may be a little heavy, but I don't break chairs. Anyway, so I laughed. And then he had a yogurt.
And he doesn't think much of it.
No, he had a yogurt cup on the couch arm. And I had gotten up, and I don't know why, but I looked in the yogurt. It was half eaten. It wasn't even, and it was just sitting there. And then we go in the kitchen. I see some cookies, like Entenmann cookies, whatever they were. So it was on top of the refrigerator, but I reached to have a cookie. What the heck, right? So I took it down, and every cookie was half eaten. It's a bite in each cookie. It wasn't finished. I put it back up there. I didn't say anything. He comes in. He says, "You want some coffee?" I said, "Okay." So he goes to make some coffee, and the dish rag catches fire with the thing. So now he's whipping this dish rag, and I'm standing there, and I'm laughing. I'm saying, "This is like I can relate to this
This
thing.
is a Woody
like,
Allen
yeah,
movie.
this is like me. I'm in clumsy. I'm this. The yogurt, everything there was funny to me. So I just knew that that our growing up had a similarity. He's 7 years older than I am. Right. So,
but did he have to the extent you knew this? Did he have a consciousness that he was the biggest star in the world?
Well,
or didn't care?
No, he because he disguised himself. And we went out a lot, and he would always say,
you would go out together, and he would disguise himself.
Yeah, well, he'd wear the hat all the way down. He'd put the thing up like this. He says, go get the tickets. We're going to go to a movie. Let's say I'd run out, get the tickets. I'd signal him, and he'd squirm out like that. He would go to Yankee Stadium and put on a beard, a fake beard, and the camera can would go right to him. They all knew it was him. It was the real thing, and then he'd have to leave. He was embarrassed. Yeah. But it's very different. Al was different in that sense because he's not comfortable. Diane Keaton, on the other hand, will walk down the street. She's okay because hi, how you doing? She'll disarm people. Mm-hmm. Some people who don't feel comfortable.
Okay. So now you build this 40-year relationship with Playboy, and then you begin book writing as well.
Right.
When do you start book writing?
1984. Okay. I go to do.
What's your first book?
A Conversation with Capote.
Truman Capote. Would you explain to the audience who Truman Capote is?
Well, Truman Capote was kind of like our Oscar Wilde. He was He was kind of outrageous.
Kind of?
He spoke a little bit with a funny voice. We knew he was gay. He wasn't hiding it. And but he was a brilliant writer.
Brilliant.
He wrote Breakfast at Tiffany's.
In Cold Blood.
In Cold Blood. He made millions on that and all. But he wrote another...
and he would be on The Tonight Show.
Oh, he'd be on old TV shows.
And he was
sometimes
so
he'd get,
entertaining.
Yeah, he absolutely was. He was one of the most entertaining people to be
Ever.
around. Yeah, yeah. And he only wrote 6 or 8 books. So he hated people like Jackie Suzanne and Joyce Carol Oates because they were so prolific, you know.
Yeah.
But he had something to say about every one of them. I interviewed Capote for the Playboy cable, and so I have.
But then
it on
you
tape.
do a book.
Yes, and it's based on. Well, then I do an interview with him for Playboy, and this is. I'll always remember this because I was going out every 6 months. I was going to Sagaponack in Long Island. I flew out, go out, spend 5 hours with Capote, come back. So one time I'm having dinner with Christy Hefner, who's then the head of Playboy or close to it.
That's
that time.
Hugh Hefner's daughter.
Hugh Hefner's daughter, and Barry Gilson, my editor. And I'm late. I had to get to New York, but I was with Capote for 5 hours. I finally get back 3 or 4 hours later. They said, how's the interview going? I said, it's going to be the most recognized interview of the year. This is what I have never said that about anything I've ever done, including with Bob Knight and Jesse Ventura and all. But this one I just knew was outrageous. So they were excited. When I give it to them, it goes up to management. The managing editor, he has 1 word, 2 words for it, 3 words for it. I'm sorry. I hate it. I hate it.
Wow.
And Kretschmer too thought it was too gay, whatever, whatever. And it was too negative.
It's a different era.
So
it's a different era.
This is what I did immediately, was say, I would like to buy it back. I was this confident in this. I said, I'd like to buy it back. So they allowed me to. So I now had the rights back to this thing.
To do a book.
And I wasn't doing a book then. Yes. No. I had said to Capote, do you mind if we continue this? And he said, okay. So I kept going out there. Yes, I had in mind a book. I didn't talk to him about it at that time. I was thinking he was writing Answered Prayers. James Michener told me the book that will be most remembered in the last half of the 20th century is if Truman Capote ever finishes Answered Prayers, that's the book. So I'm thinking, if I could have been with Proust when he was writing Remembrance of Things Past, if I could have been with Joyce when he's writing Ulysses, I'm with Capote. And he's letting me do it. So I don't have an outlet yet. But I have an access, and I just keep spending. I'm willing to go. I'm willing to fly in and do this. And then what happens? He dies at the age of 59 or something. Or he
what did he die of?
Oh, it was a broken heart, I think. But it was something that he took a lot of different pills. I forgot what it was. But I wrote about it.
So that becomes the first book, and now
within
you've written...
6 months, that book is out. After 6 months after he died, it's published. I had to write it and it was the fastest hardback ever published up until that time. Becomes a bestseller on the Village Voice, #1, San Francisco, #1. I mean, really, it was amazing. And so
now you're a book writer.
I'm a book writer now.
How many books have you done?
32.
You've written 32 books.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite book?
Always the one I'm working on, right? But
what book are you working on?
Well, I started to tell you that I've kept a journal that's 10,000 pages long. Everything, all the stories I'm telling you now, I have all the people I've ever been with, hundreds, thousands. I've written about it. And so I have all the dialogue. I have everything, the craziness that happens. Dolly Parton saying things to me, let's go into business together, let's share a room, let's do this. All of this stuff happened. Nobody knows it. No, people are going to be amazed by this, but the fact is, I have it all. I have been reducing 10,000 pages, 5 million words, to 200 or 300 pages. You could imagine how much material I have, and it's amazing.
And this book, ultimately, will be published by...
I hope to find a publisher that's going to see what I see in it, because I think this will get me on every television show. It'll get me on all the podcasts. I'll do an audio book the way Robert Evans did. The Kid Stays in the Picture.
I represented Robert
Did you?
Evans.
Yeah. Well, that's a great audio book.
Oh boy!
And I think I
It's
can
a
do
great
one that's
story.
similar to it. Yes, because
Okay.
of these kinds of stories.
Got it.
The stories with De Niro, with Pacino, with Pavarotti, with Patty Hearst, with George C. Scott. I just wrote this book called Hustle: The Making of a Freelance Writer. What? And it's
That's the questions I'm asking.
and it's all the stories that I've been telling you. The story about how I met my wife. The story about in the beginning, on the airlines. All these articles are in here that influenced my life in some way. The article about America's 3 greatest presidents, I put it in here. But I write about what I did in the beginning and why I'm putting it in here, and then what happened afterwards. So it's one writer's journey into the freelance world, but I was able to do it. And I think other people can take from this that.
Well, if they most remember that the book is called
Hustle.
Hustle,
Right.
and life
Is a hustle.
requires hustle.
Right.
Larry,
You can't be lazy. Even without
You can.
notes. Even without, I was going to criticize Michael. This is the truth.
Okay.
I'm sitting here saying, I'm waiting for you to say to me, how do you do what you do? And I was going to say to you, with notes.
Yes.
And it was going to be a slight criticism of you doing no notes. I said, you're lazy. You're like Larry King. But the fact is, you're able to create a conversation and keep it going for the whole time. So good for you.
Thank you. Thank you. Now, that is an interesting point. I think there's a misconception about the show in that it is more of a conversation than, in fact, an interview in a traditional way. So you were an outstanding guest. I was intimidated driving here thinking, I'm going to ask Lawrence Grobel, I'm going to interview him. You got to be crazy.
Yeah, people who come feel that way until 5 minutes into my meeting me, and then they go.
No, I felt intimidated the whole way. You were a great guest. Thanks a million.
Sure.